So tonight I wanna focus on the story of Joseph. It's one of the first stories of the Bible. It's in Genesis, and I feel like Joseph was a patient dude, and I for sure am not. That's one of my struggles. I'm not patient, but day by day my daughter starts to test it, and I start to grow more patient and patient. So praise God for kids, right? So we're gonna focus on the story of Joseph. Now I kind of want to give you a background of Joseph, who he is and what he went through. So Joseph is the son of Jacob, right? So Joseph is one of 12, right? And I think a lot of us can agree that what happened to Joseph was very unfair, right? So Joseph, he was considered the favorite by his dad Jacob, right? He was considered the favorite because he was the child to his second wife Rachel, right? Him and Benjamin, they were the youngest of 12. So his older brothers would sometimes give him a hard time, and they didn't really like him that much because his dad made everyone aware that Joseph was the favorite, right? I mean, I have a younger brother, but I can only imagine that, if my parents favored my brother more than me, there would be some sense of hurt, some sense of bitterness, right? Because I want to feel love too, but, I don't want to feel any less love than my sibling. So I feel like this is what, the older brothers were going through. They kind of had some resentment against Joseph because of the praise that his dad would give him, and there was this one instance where Jacob gave him this cloak, right, of different colors, and one of the older sons were like, man, that should have been me, like I'm the oldest son, So there were little things here and there that kind of ticked off his Joseph's brothers, right? But one of the things that really broke the camel's back, I would say, is when Joseph tells his brothers the dreams that he had, right? So they're out picking, out in farming with his brothers, and he tells his brothers, "Hey guys, I had a dream. I had a dream that you guys are gonna bow down to me," and I don't know if we were to say something like that to someone. I mean, I don't know if they're gonna take it so pleasantly, like, "Oh yeah, oh, okay, cool." No, you're gonna question it and be like, "What do you mean I'm gonna bow down? I'm gonna bow down to you." So his brothers already hate him. So now on top of that, he's telling his brothers, "By the way, I had a dream that you guys are gonna bow down to me." And he goes and he tells them another dream, and not only are you guys gonna bow down to me, but everyone's gonna bow down to me. The 7 stars are gonna bow down to me. So his brothers had just had it already. They said, this kid, he's the favorite, and now he's saying that, we're all gonna bow down to him, and our parents are gonna bow down to him. This kid has got to go. We gotta get rid of him because, he's taking everyone's shine away. So they plot to kill Joseph, right? So his brothers go out, and Joseph goes with them, right? And they start to plot to kill him. But then Benjamin is like, "No, we shouldn't kill him. Like, that's our blood. His blood is gonna be on our hands. We shouldn't do that." Benjamin trying to save his life, right? So the other brothers agree, and they said, "Okay, fine. We won't kill him. Let's put him in this hole, and we'll just leave him there." So they agreed, and they're like, "Okay, fine. We're gonna put you in this hole." But then they see some Ishmaelites, I think it was, crossing, right? And the brothers say, "Hey, you know what? Maybe we can turn this kid into a prophet, because what good does he do if we just throw him in the hole, right? And just leave him there. We got these guys coming by. Maybe we can get something out of it." So what they do is they sell him to slavery, right? So Joseph was just being Joseph, right? He didn't ask to be praised. He didn't ask to be the favorite. He was simply just born like that. His dad was the one that made that decision to say, hey, this is my favorite son because he is the child of my second wife, which happens to be my favorite wife as well. So Joseph didn't necessarily ask for this. Joseph doesn't necessarily, say this is who I want to be and this is what I want to be looked at. No, it just happened. His life just happened like that. So then what happens? His brothers come, they sell him off to slavery. So now Joseph is on his way to Egypt as a slave, right? So the kids, the other brothers come back, and Benjamin comes back and says, where's Joseph? Where's Joseph? And then the brothers, kind of act dumb and, I don't know. Let's just grab his cloak, because Joseph left his cloak there. So let's grab it and smear some blood on it. It goes from like a goat, I think the Bible says, and let's just say that it was his blood, and he got eaten by an animal, right? So they go back to the dad and they say, look, this is what happened to Joseph. He got eaten by an animal. The dad is like in agony and misery. He's like, why did this happen? How could this happen? My youngest son, I love him so much, so the brothers are satisfied. They're like, yes, we got rid of him, now we can go on living our normal lives. So now Joseph goes on into slavery, right? But see, soon when Joseph goes to Egypt, he's a slave or whatnot, but then eventually he starts to climb up the ranks, right? So his master has favor in him, right? So his master has trusted Joseph throughout the years. He has shown that he's more than capable to do the things that he's been asked to do, right? So his master has given him trust over everything that he has, including his home. So he's in his master's home, and his master's wife starts to provoke him. And she says on several instances, come sleep with me. Joseph is like, no, are you crazy? I'm not gonna, defy my God like that. Your husband, fully trusts in me. How can I betray his trust? I'm not gonna defy God like that. I'm not going to. So there's this moment where he is in his master's home. No one is around, and his master's wife grabs him and says, come sleep with me. So as a reaction, Joseph just like pulls away, and he leaves his I guess what he was wearing at the time, a cloak or whatnot, and he leaves it there and he just runs away. So the wife, in anger, she screams, and she starts to falsely accuse Joseph. She starts to spread this rumor and say, Joseph tried to sleep with me. Look, when I screamed, he even ran away, and here's his clothes. So Joseph is now being falsely accused, right? So his master gets super angry with him, says, how can you do this to me, this and that. They throw him into prison, right? So now Joseph is in prison. So this innocent child, is born, just happens to be the favorite. His brothers try to kill him, end up selling him into slavery. So now he's a slave, and now he tried to make the best out of it while he was there, but now he's being falsely accused, and now he sees himself in prison. Now, a lot of us, at least me, when something doesn't go my way in life, one of the first things that come out of my mouth is, that's not fair. You see, there's a lot of things in life that we go through that seem unfair. And a lot of people will answer that and say, well, life ain't fair. Not everything's going to go your way. But see, Joseph can clearly state here that his life is not being fair to him. This kid has done nothing wrong. He simply just happens to be the favorite. He has a dream, so he's just making conversations with his brothers and says, hey, I had a dream about this, I had a dream about that. Then he climbed up the ranks, he earned his master's trust, he's just doing good. He's not defying God, he's not giving into sin, and then he's being falsely accused about doing something that he never did. So, I think it's safe to say that what's going on with Joseph, the things that are happening to Joseph, is clearly unfair. He's now sitting in a prison cell, and he has done nothing wrong. He did nothing wrong to be a slave, and now he did nothing wrong to be a prisoner. So the story goes on to say that eventually he meets two men from the prison, right? And it happens to be one of the Pharaoh's cupbearers and another servant of the Pharaoh, right? And these two men start talking to Joseph, and they end up telling him about their dreams. And then Joseph's like, hey, I can interpret your dream. These guys, Joseph interprets their dream or whatnot, and eventually one of the dreams was that one of the guys that were in prison is gonna get his position back with the Pharaoh. The other guy is gonna die, right? So the man that he says is gonna get his position back eventually gets his position back. He's back with the Pharaoh. So then the Pharaoh starts to have a dream. Now the Pharaoh's having a dream, and no one can interpret his dream. So then this man that met Joseph at prison says, hey, by the way, I know this guy who can interpret dreams. Maybe he can interpret your dream. So Pharaoh comes and he says, hey, look, this is my dream. And then Joseph comes and he interprets the dream. Pharaoh was so happy that, this man was able to interpret his dream. He made him ruler of everything, and he said, the only one that's above you is me. The throne is what stops you from ruling all of Egypt. So think of it like being the vice president of the United States. I mean, Joseph has gone up to this level, right, in Egypt. So what do I want to express to you tonight about sharing this story with you? See, a lot of things in life are not going to go our way, right? But we can't just sit here and pout about it and blame God for it or complain how it's so unfair. See, in this story, there's two instances that I can point out where it clearly states that the Lord was with Joseph. See, in Genesis chapter 39, verse 2, it says, and the Lord was with Joseph. And then again in Genesis 39, verse 21, it says, the Lord was with Joseph. See, what do I mean by that? Now, although things in life are not going your way, and although things in life that are occurring in your life may seem unfair, the Lord is with you. See, you're not fighting this battle by yourself. You're not here to just be in agony and in pain and complain about how unfair your life is, because the Lord is with you. See, the Lord doesn't let things happen in your life that's not going to be turned into good. You see, anything and everything that happens in your life is always going to be for the greater good. See, God doesn't want us to be angry or sad or feeling unfair or feeling hurt or feeling bitter. God loves us. See, when you love someone, you're not going to make that person feel angry or sad, because that's not what love gives. See, love gives happiness. Love gives affection. It gives warmth. It gives a sensation that people are attracted to. You know, what people say, when you smile at someone, smiling is contagious. Because when you smile at someone, no matter what bad of a day they're having, they're going to smile back. Whether it be awkwardly or not, they're going to smile back, right? So when you love someone, they're going to have some sense of love. Maybe they may not show it to you, but they're going to have some sort of love. They're going to feel warm inside. They're going to feel happy, right? So that's what God gives us. God gives us that love. So whenever we feel pain or bitter or we're angry and we start to point the finger at God, see, that's not what God wants. That's not what God is trying to do. See, when there's a hurdle in your life, you need to always remember chapter 39 verse 2 and chapter 39 verse 21 of Genesis, that the Lord is with you. See, if the Lord was with Joseph, the Lord is going to be with Daniel, the Lord is going to be with Diane, the Lord is going to be with Pastor Jose, Pastor Julissa. The Lord is with you. You're not fighting this battle alone. See, recently, I want to say like about a week ago, I had a friend of mine that lost her mom. She lost her mom to, I believe it was kidney failure, right? And you know, they posted something on Facebook, and this lady was 51 years old. The daughter is about my age. You know, she has a daughter, and she's pregnant with a second child. And you know, this is a nice family. I'm not sure if they were Christian or not, but I know they were believers. They believed in God. And you know, their mom passed away at a very young age, and they decided to post something on Facebook, both the daughter and the dad. And one thing that really stood out to me in their post was them saying, "Why God?" See, they start questioning why God. They even go as far as to say that she was such a great person. She was always doing good things to people. Why her? Why did it happen to her? You see, a lot of us lose focus on things, or on the ultimate goal, and that's God. We lose focus on God when things tend to not go our way. You see, in the story of Joseph not once complained. Not once does it show here Joseph praying to God and complaining to God or questioning God. See, Joseph was, I would say in a sense, patient. Regardless of the things that was going on in his life, he was relatively patient, right? He wasn't questioning. Yet God was with him, and God gave him these abilities for him to move forward, for him to overcome these obstacles. You see, because during this time of that he was in Egypt, he was faced with certain obstacles in his life, but yet God equipped him. You see, God equipped Joseph to have that ability to interpret dreams, that eventually raised him up the ranks, right? God eventually equipped him with the ability to succeed, right? And that's how his master was able to give him all this trust, right? In prison, when he was falsely accused, the person that was in charge of Joseph in the prison had trust in Joseph. So Joseph practically ran the prison, you know? And that is because God was with Joseph. See, that is because God never left Joseph. And Joseph had this sense of comfort, knowing that God was with him, knowing that he wasn't fighting these battles by himself. So, in Genesis chapter 40, verse 15, Joseph is sitting in his cell, right, and he's talking to these two men that Pharaoh threw in prison, and he says to these men, "For I was kidnapped from my homeland, the land of the Hebrews, and now I'm here in prison, but I did nothing to deserve it." So here it shows that Joseph clearly states that he knows what's going on. He knows that he's been falsely accused. He knows that he was kidnapped from his homeland. He knows that he's not supposed to be where he's at now. But he's not complaining about it. He's simply just saying, I did nothing wrong, I did nothing to deserve it, but this is where I am. See, he's not pleading to God and saying, God, take me out of this. Why am I, why are you making this hard for me? But see, the verse before that, he tells he tells the gentleman that he's talking to, he says, in Genesis chapter 40, verse 14, he says, "And please remember me and do me a favor when things go well for you. Mention me to Pharaoh so he might let me out of this place." You see, Joseph is telling this to the men after he interprets his dream, because he knows that one of the men is going to go back to his own rank, right? So he tells this man, remember me, and do me a favor that when things go well for you, mention me to Pharaoh, so I can get out of here. So now, we, as human beings here, we sometimes put our trust in men. We put our trust in other people. And we say, man, you know, like, help me out here. Try to, you know, try to maybe bend this rule for me. Or you know what, hey, look, I'm going to do this for you, but, you know, when I need you, you know, hook me up. Like let me know. Like, think about me. You know, like get me in there. I know I don't qualify, but, you know, come on, bro. You're the VP. You can get me into that position. Or, you know, maybe I don't meet the certain criteria to get into this honors program, but, you know, my mom is really cool. My mom is really cool with your mom. Come on, man. You know, like, we've known each other. Get me into this program. You know, come on, do one for me. But see, it's funny here because the Bible clearly shows how we can't trust in men, how we can't trust in people when it's God trying to work in us. You see, in chapter 40, verse 23 of Genesis, the cup about Joseph. You see, this man is back in his old position. Yes, it was the cupbearer. Yeah, so Pharaoh's chief cupbearer. He goes back to his normal position, right? And what does he do? He forgets about Joseph. See, the Bible says, Pharaoh's chief cupbearer, however, forgot all about Joseph, never giving him another thought. You see, a lot of us, we tend to put our trust in people, and we tend to try to alter God's plans by involving other people. But see, God is clearly working in Joseph here, just like God is clearly working in each and every one of us. But the moment that we start to implement people into our promise, into what God is trying to do in us, we're delaying our promise. You see, God can have mercy upon us sometimes and get those people away to not delay us. But sometimes God is going to allow that to show us that no one can step in God's plan. See, Joseph tells this cupbearer, remember me when you get your position back, but what happens? That the cupbearer forgets all about Joseph. So Joseph maybe had hope at some point to say, man, this guy's going to get me out because I know that this dream is going to be fulfilled. I mean, I have that gift from God, so I know he's going to be, he's going to get his position back, and when he gets his position back, he's going to tell Pharaoh, and then Pharaoh's going to take me out of prison, and I'm good. I'm good. So I'm sure Joseph is, you know, leaning back with his legs crossed, not worried about anything. But then the cupbearer forgets. You see, when we put our trust in people, we forget what Jesus is trying to do in us. You see, we can't let other people define what God has in store for us. We can't let other people alter God's plans. You see, as we progress in the story, like I mentioned before, Pharaoh has a dream. No one can interpret his dream. And he says, I need someone to interpret this dream. So then, eventually, one of the guys says, hey, I know this guy that I met in prison. He can actually interpret your dream. Call him up. So Joseph gets out, right? And he interprets Pharaoh's dreams. Pharaoh praises him. And he says, wow, you know, I'm going to make you ruler of Egypt. No one is going to be able to move a finger unless you say so. Right? So, in Genesis chapter 41, verse 39, it says, the Pharaoh said to Joseph, since God has revealed the meaning of the dreams to you, clearly no one else is as intelligent or wise as you are. You see, when I read that verse, it spoke to me because we don't know how intelligent, how wise, how strong we are until we start to give God a chance. You see, Joseph, is sitting in a prison cell and he's praising God. He is being patient. He's not questioning God. He's not saying, God, I hate you. Why, God? Like, you let this guy go out and I'm still here and I didn't do anything wrong. No, see, Joseph is in connection with God. He is connecting with God. He is listening to God, and he is all ears, ready to listen and hear what God has in store for him and what God wants him to do. But see, the Pharaoh told him that no one else is intelligent or as wise as you are. But the Pharaoh knows that it's because God revealed that meaning of the dream to him. See, when we start to pay attention to God, when we start to listen to what God has for us and stop trying to, involve other people or trying to alter his plan or become impatient or complain of how unfair our life is, we'll start to listen and be able to interpret what God is trying to tell us. We become more wise. We become more knowledgeable. We become more patient. We become more kind. We become things that we wouldn't even possibly imagine we can be. So, we need to understand that things in life are not always going to go our way. You can be in a bad marriage. You can be in a bad relationship. You can be in a bad situation where you find yourself unjustified, the people that are doing wrong to you are unjustified. Maybe you feel like you've been wrongfully accused. But know that God is always with you. And know that whatever happens to you is always for the greater good. But you have to believe that the God you serve is the God of love. And the God of love is not going to put you through pain and misery just because he wants you to be in pain and miserable. See, weakness, they have the same weakness is, pain is weakness leaving the body. You see, no pain, no gain, right? So if things are just handed to you and you don't have to work for anything, then you ain't going to be gaining much, right? See, we all work here, right? And our jobs are not easy. It doesn't matter what you do. You can be a supervisor sitting down all day looking at a computer. It may seem like an easy job to someone that's doing hard labor, maybe, in construction or in landscaping that is, sweating all day and actually using every muscle of their body. Maybe to them that job is easy. But see, I can assure you that no one wants to be working. Everyone would love to be home and get paid, right? So, to some degree, your job is hard. Why? Because you have to get up in the morning. You have a responsibility to be at work at a certain time. You have to, if you live in Miami, you got to go through traffic. See, I work 10 miles, 11 miles away from my home, and it takes me a good 30 to 35 minutes just to travel 11 miles. It's about 3 minutes a mile. Okay? So, it's painful. It's a sacrifice. It is difficult, but we have to do it, right? We have to do it because it's a responsibility. Now, God gives us responsibilities. God puts hurdles in our lives, but he's not going to put easy hurdles. He's going to put difficult ones because he knows that that's going to strengthen us, right? You see, if you want that beautiful house, or if you want that beautiful car, you're going to have to work for it, right? You're going to have to sacrifice for it. It's not going to be easy. You're going to have to save up money, right? It's not going to happen overnight. That's the same thing that God is doing to us. But see, God is not going to give us a fancy car or a beautiful home. God is going to give us something beautiful, something worth more than that. You see, God is going to give us this blessing that surpasses anything materialized that you can have in this world. You see, when God, the bigger the hurdle that God puts in front of you, the bigger the blessing is on the other side. So We gotta stop being impatient, and we gotta stop complaining about how unfair our life is. Because you know what? Our life is unfair. Our life is difficult. There's a lot of things that are gonna occur and happen in our lives that we're not gonna agree with. See, Joseph was kidnapped and he was sold into slavery. That was unfair to him. He didn't do anything. But then Joseph was wrongfully accused, and all he was doing is just worshiping God. He wasn't defying his God. He wasn't going to give in to sin. So he gets thrown into prison. That is unfair. See, we're going to be confronted with a lot of things that are unfair in our lives. But instead of complaining to God, know that God is with us. Know that God is not trying to put us through pain. Know that God has a greater blessings for the things that you are going through now. You see, when I was in high school, I played football, right? Wasn't very good at it, but I tried, right? And there's this thing that they do every so often. It's called the 40-yard dash, right? And the 40-yard dash, you line up at a 0-yard line, and your coach is waiting for you 40 yards later, right? And they time you of how fast you can run the 40-yard dash. So it was 2 and 2, right? And I'm running up against this kid that I've raced him before, and I know, I mean, not to brag, but I know I was fast. I've been clocked, before, and I was one of the fastest kids in the team, right? So I know I can easily smoke this kid next to me. So the coach is waiting at the 40-yard at the 40-yard line, right? And he blows the whistle and he starts to time. And I'm just running, right? And I'm looking straight ahead. I'm running, and then off my peripheral I see like a shadow, right? And I'm like, is this kid catching up to me? So just for a quick second, I mean, I don't even think I completely moved my head around, but I kind of like just glanced over to him to see how far I was in front of him. When I looked forward, I'm almost at the finish line, and this kid just zooms by me and beats me. And with this, I'm gonna close. You see, the kid didn't beat me because he was simply faster than me. The kid beat me because I took my eyes off my goal.